Leading up to the Ontario Leaders Debate in Parry Sound last week, school bus drivers drove through the Stockey Centre parking lot to protest the current procurement process. CEO of Hammond Transportation, Hammond, says this enables school boards to bid on contracts from transportation companies rather than go through negotiations as it was done prior to the change back in 2008.
35 Ontario school bus companies have been put out of business, and there's school bus driver shortages everywhere. We feel that the system has been underfunded for many years. It's done nothing but put pressure on school bus operators and especially the school bus drivers. They're the ones that are key to the safety of the industry. Every time there's an RFP, it's a bit of a candy scramble. 30% of the drivers leave the industry, and as I say, they're the key people to keeping children safe in Ontario. The responsibility that school bus drivers have and the compensation that they get is just simply out of whack. These drivers, they're fantastic, they're committed, they show up, they drive in all kinds of weather and all kinds of conditions, and they just do a fantastic job. Kids are 17 to 20 times safer on a school bus than they are in the family car, but the poor drivers get very little recognition for that.
Hammond also says this process has made the minimum wage increase difficult for bus companies.
The impacts on operations and companies. Bill 148, the government will say, well, we've doubled the, we've given 2% increases to school bus companies, but that doesn't all get to school bus companies. They claw it back. Then this year they've doubled it to 4%. Well, that doesn't even cover the costs that Bill 148 put on school bus companies, which our studies have shown to be something in the neighborhood of 11%, $110 million a year, the impact on Ontario school bus companies.
By protesting in Parry Sound, Hammond is hoping it will inspire future talks with the government.
Well, we'd like the government to recognize, number one, that this process is flawed. They've taken us to court 7 times. They've lost every single time. So the process is flawed. It does nothing to promote safety. They want the process basically puts children's safety in the hands of the lowest bidder. So we want to see that change. We want the government to sit down, go to a mediator, not have a policy of putting Ontario-based companies out of business, and we want the government to sit down and mediate with us, not fight us in court. And we would like to see this system changed, and of course we want to see more money in the system so that these drivers are fairly compensated for the important job they do.
The Ontario Leaders Debate was hosted by the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities on May 11th.